Welcome to Midwest Outsiders. Today we're going to be doing a table review of the Walther PPK S. I got two of them here. I got a blued one and a stainless steel one. First I want to go over some history of the Walther PPK S. It started out as the Walther PP, which stands for Police Pistol. Saw service during World War II. It was actually a significant historical gun. The gun that Hitler committed suicide with was a Walther PPK. The PPK was originally chambered in a 32 ACP, but since the PPK S has come around, they've been chambered in they've been chambered in 9mm short or 380 ACP. They do have a 22 long rifle version of these out there. I haven't been able to get my hands on one of those, but I think that they would be a really cool kind of maybe do a review on in the future. One thing about the PPK-S and all PPK variants, they're blowback, meaning that they have fixed barrel. And I'll see if I can show you that by taking one down, if I can remember how to do that. Back and forward. So now you can see was that it's blowback, meaning it's fixed barrel. I have it all disassembled now. Usually on a semi-automatic pistol, the barrel comes loose with the slide. This one is fixed, and you can kind of see that the feed ramp and the barrel are all nice and meshed together as one. It's kind of dirty down in there. So, and then to reassemble, I can go back into detail on this later, but this needs to pull out. And go all the way back and forward and flick that back in, and she's good to go. Yeah, so like I was talking about before, the gun Hitler used, iconic, the PPK/PPKS for James Bond videos or movies. In the latest ones with Daniel Craig, he used a PPK-S that they called a 9mm short, which is what more commonly known as a 380. Latest one I believe was Skyfall. His was a PPK-S, and then the Q, the Agent Q, he called it a 9mm short, which isn't wrong. More commonly known as a 380. His had some fancy science fiction handprint scanner, so no one else could shoot it. They don't come standard that way, if they come that way at all. But no, that was the PPK-S. The original versions, like back with Sean Connery, and I don't think Pierce Brosnan used a PPK. I think that they kind of somewhat upgraded to the Walther P99 for those series. But before, it was originally the PPK. These are the PPK-S's. There's not much difference. The only difference that there is was, now don't quote me on this, but what I believe was there was a time where the PPK was just a little bit, the PPK is a little bit shorter in the grip, and there was a time where it was considered too short to be legal, so they lengthened the grip just slightly, called it the PPK-S. Since 2002, the PPKs, or the PPK-S's is what all of them are nowadays, have been manufactured by Smith & Wesson. I don't believe any of them are ever chambered in 32 ACP anymore. That was kind of a PPK thing. Like I said, the 22 long rifle conversions, those are also made by Smith & Wesson under contract. And that's pretty much going to be the significant history on this. I mean, it was kind of a big deal before James Bond came around because it was iconic with World War II. And honestly, to the Germans, this could be just as iconic as the American 1911. So it's been around for just as long, or just about almost as long. Has significance in the war with high authority figures using them to off themselves, and high movie time figures using them as special agents. So they've always been kind of known to be a secret agent / sexy small pocket gun. I don't think I would call it quite small enough to be a pocket gun, but definitely subcompact. Doc, get out of the frame. So, yeah, I've got two different ones here. I've got a blued one, I got a stainless one. I was able to get a couple of these just for the review. Some things I want to talk about are The cons and the positives that I feel of the gun. We'll actually go into the actual review now. Cons, one thing that I've noticed with most PPKs that I've shot, actually just about every single one, I don't think they're any different. I get slide bite when I shoot it, meaning the recoil comes about, and I don't think it's the actual slide that's nipping me. When I shoot it, they have sharp edges, and this beaver tail here has a nice little point right there, and it's just enough recoil where if you shoot it maybe 3 mags, you'll get a nice little, you can almost call it a scar. Over time it would become a scab. Obviously this isn't something you would shoot 500 rounds in a week with, but it's something to consider. It's not a comfortable gun. Now that being said, it is a very comfortable gun to conceal. It's relatively lightweight for a gun in general. You can basically hide it during the summertime if you're concealing. Great carry piece in my opinion. Another con that I don't like, and this isn't necessarily limited to this, it's just basically this trigger style. This trigger style is double action, single action. And the thing about double action, single action is that it's inconsistent with, like, if you have to draw real quick and you're going on muscle memory of what the first trigger pull, like that second trigger pull is going to be different. So the way double action, single action works is the very first time you fire this gun loaded, no matter which configuration you carry it in, it will always be double action trigger pull, meaning the trigger is going to bring back the hammer and let the hammer fall all in the same pull. So after you pull it the first time, it will rack, and from there on out, it will be a single action trigger pull. But until you get to there, you have to get past that first initial trigger pull. With double action, it's got a pretty heavy double action trigger pull. I mean, there's some revolvers out there smoother than it. The single action though is very crisp. There's no take up whatsoever. So it's you could call it a positive and you can call it a negative. That's not necessarily a negative to the Walther. That's just a negative to double action, single action in general. I'm just not a fan. I don't know of many people that are. Next point that I want to go against is for a con is it's heavy for a small gun. It's relatively lightweight for a gun, a pistol in general, but it's very heavy for a concealable gun or a subcompact gun, especially with polymer frames out there. They're really cutting down on the weight category as far as concealing and carrying. And of course, you know, the lighter the gun is, maybe the more comfortable it is to carry. Me personally, I don't have any problem with it, but other people might. Okay, some positives I want to talk about. Concealability. We kind of touched down on this before. These things are relatively small, easy to conceal, great, like I carry inside the waistband, and I can wear a t-shirt over it and it's unnoticeable. There are other ways to carry it. It is small enough for an ankle holster. Like I mentioned before, it's a little bit heavier for a subcompact gun, but I feel that you could still carry it effectively on an ankle holster. Haven't tried yet. Another con, it really is kind of a classic or an iconic piece. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily put it as classic or iconic as a 1911, but I would put it right up in there as iconic. I mean, like Dirty Harry Smith & Wesson 44 Magnum, I would put it in that same class. If you see just a silhouette of a PPK, you know what it is. Just like if you see just a silhouette of a 1911 or just a silhouette of a Glock, you know what that silhouette is because it's so iconic. And ultimately, the weight kind of went against it, but on a positive, on a con, or on a pro, the weight goes for it too, because because it's an all steel frame, it's a rugged gun. It's gonna be able to take a beating. It's durable, all steel, just like a 1911. It's not a polymer gun. And, you know, I never have been a huge fan of polymer guns. I'll usually take a steel frame gun over a polymer gun. But I guess it's two different types of people, and it all depends on what you're looking for. As a classic piece of history and Hollywood, I think it's a great gun. As far as a concealed carry weapon, If I was going to rate it on 4 out of 5 stars, I'd probably give it like a 3.5, 4. It's very great, very small, perfect gun for concealed carry. The only downside is the double action, single action, in my opinion, and just the weight factor. But and as far as shootability, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty uncomfortable to shoot, but you can get past that with practice. And there are some, I've seen products, they're little plastic beaver tail molds you can put on there, and I guess it stops a slide bite and makes it more comfortable, but I haven't had too much experience with that either. But as far as I am concerned, these are two great pieces sitting in front of me, two different variants, and I thoroughly enjoy them. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got on this review. I think I touched base on all of the points I wanted to touch on. Make sure you like and subscribe to this channel, and thanks everyone for watching.